Many of you were there. And the bill we forged wasn't perfect. It wasn't what any one person might think was optimal, but because folks were willing to compromise, we came up with a common sense, comprehensive reform that was so far from the false debates. The notion that somehow, on the one hand, there's mass amnesty, or on the other hand, there's some unworkable mass deportation. That wasn't what we were talking about, and the American people, I think, were ready to embrace a common sense solution. And we passed that bill through the United States Senate. But since that effort fell apart, we have seen how broken and bitter and divisive our politics has become. Today, the folks who yelled the loudest about the federal government's long failure to fix this problem are some of the same folks standing in the way of good faith efforts to fix it. And under the pressures of partisanship and election year politics, most of the 11 Republican senators who voted for that reform just 4 years ago have backed far away from that vote today. That's why states like Arizona have taken matters into their own hands. And my administration has challenged that state's law, not just because it risks the harassment of citizens and legal immigrants, but it is the wrong way to deal with this issue. It interferes with federal immigration enforcement. It makes it more difficult for local law enforcement to do its job. It strains state and local budgets. And if other states follow suit, we'll have an unproductive and unworkable patchwork of laws across the country. We need an immigration policy that works. A policy that meets the needs of families and businesses while honoring our tradition as a nation of immigrants and a nation of laws. We need it for the sake of our economy, we need it for our security, and we need it for our future. And I understand it may not be the easy thing to do politically. It's easier to grandstand. But I didn't run for president to do what's easy. I ran to do what's hard. I ran to do what's right. And when I think something's the right thing to do, even my critics have to admit I'm pretty persistent. I won't let it go. They can call me a lot of things, but they know I don't give up. Now, the Senate's going to have a chance to do the right thing over the next few weeks when Senator Reid brings the DREAM Act to the floor. Keep in mind, in the past, this was a bill that was supported by a majority of Democrats and Republicans. There's no reason why it shouldn't receive that same kind of bipartisan support today. I've been a supporter since I was in the Senate, and I will do whatever it takes to support the Congressional Hispanic Caucus's efforts to pass this bill so that I can sign it into law on behalf of students seeking a college education and those who wish to serve in our country's uniform. It's the right thing to do. We should get it done. I want to be straight with you. To make real progress on these or any issues, we've got to break the Republican leadership's blockade. Let's be clear about this. Without the kind of bipartisan effort we had just a few short years ago, we can't get these reforms across the finish line. Their leadership has made reaching 60 votes the norm for nearly everything the Senate has to do. The American people's business is on hold because, simply put, the other party's platform has been no. For example, consider the public servants I've nominated to carry out the people's business. Most of them have been supported widely and approved unanimously by Senate committees. But they've been held up for months by the Republican leadership. We can't even get an up or down vote on their confirmation. I nominated a man that you all know well. Well, I did nominate Salazar. I got him confirmed. Raul Izaguirre to be our ambassador to the Dominican Republic. Raul's right here. Now, Raul's been waiting for 10 months to be the ambassador to the Dominican Republic. Right now, there are 21 judges who've been held up for months while their courts have sat empty. 3 of them are outstanding Latinos, like Judge Albert Diaz, who I nominated to the 4th Circuit Court. He's been waiting for 10 months. This is a widely respected state court judge, military judge, and Marine Corps attorney. He was approved unanimously by the Judiciary Committee. But just last month, the Senate Republican leader objected to a vote on his confirmation yet again. And when he was asked why, he basically admitted it was simply partisan payback. Partisan payback. We can't afford that kind of game playing right now. We need serious leaders for serious times. That's the kind of leadership this moment demands. That is what we need right now. Because when I get out of this town and I'm meeting with people, talking to folks, nobody's asking me, hey, Barack, which party's scoring more points? Nobody's saying, oh, don't worry about us. I just want you to do what's best for November. What they're interested in is how they're going to find a job when they've only known one trade their whole life. How are they going to put their kids through school? How are they going to pay the bills if they get sick? How are they going to retire when their savings have plunged after this financial crisis? They're the folks we're here for. They're the folks we're fighting for. That's why we passed Wall Street reform. For every hard-working family who's tired of getting taken advantage of, every time they open their credit card bill or mortgage payment or try to send a remittance, send a payment to help their parents or families abroad. That's why we're reforming America's schools so that all our children have a chance to learn the skills they need for today's economy. We eliminated tens of billions of dollars in wasteful subsidies to big banks that provide student loans, and we're taking that money to make college affordable for millions of students, including more than 100,000 Latino students. That's what the CHC did. That's what this administration did. That's why we passed health insurance reform for Americans who are sick of being gouged by insurance companies that jack up rates and deny coverage because you've got a pre-existing condition. Now, millions of Americans with insurance can get free preventive care. Now, 9 million Latinos and tens of millions of Americans will be able to afford quality health care for the first time. That's why we cut taxes for small business owners and 95% of working Americans. Thank you. Instead of giving tax breaks to corporations to create jobs overseas, we're cutting taxes for companies that put our people to work here at home. Instead of tax breaks for the wealthiest Americans who don't need them and weren't even asking for them, we're fighting to cut taxes for you, middle-class folks all across the country. That's what we're about. That's what we're fighting for. And when it comes to just about everything we've tried to do, almost every Republican in Congress has folded their arms and said, no.